If you found some data in a report or dashboard that you find interesting, you may want to download that and further analyze it in another application or use that to send to a colleague or something like that. And you can do that in two ways. You can export the data as a CSV or as an Excel file. You're able to do this from visuals in a report, and you can choose to either export the summarized data or all of the underlying rows that made up the values that you see in that chart. So let's take a look at how that works. I've got a simple report here, which you probably have seen from some of the other videos. And I've got this tree map over in the bottom right-hand corner. Let's just make that a little bigger so you can see what everything's showing. And I can see this is the number of units sold by state. So in my underlying data set, I've got individual sales transactions, and they all aggregate up into this overall number. So across the whole of California, I've got 1.3 million's worth of sales. Texas was 650,000 or so. And if I want to export this data, up on the ... menu, I get an export data option. I don't need to be in the pop-out mode to do that. I can export it just here, just fine as well. And I'll get given an option. So this is where I can choose whether I want that summarized data. So I would get one line in my Excel document per data point in my chart, or the underlying data. And this would give me many rows. If I had 4 underlying transactions that were aggregated up to give me one data point in my chart, that's what it would. All those 4 rows would get shown into the Excel format, Excel workbook. You can also see that any of the filters that have been applied on my page are going to apply to the export as well. And this is really useful if you're talking about, from a security point of view, what this user's got access to, because only the data that they can see is what's going to get exported into that file. So let's hit export now. And this will generate that Excel file or CSV file, if that's what I chose, and add it to my downloads. So here's my units by state file. Open this one up. And you can see I get a summary of all of the different filters that have been applied. So we had a filter on manufacturer to just show 4 or 5 of the different manufacturers here. And you can see I've got multiple rows for each of the states here. So although I only had one block in my tree map for California, and it had aggregated up all of these units, actually all I'm seeing is, or rather what I get in the underlying export is 1 row per each of the transactions, or 1 row per each of the reported units, whatever it was that was being aggregated up to my total California value. So it's a really simple way of going from a visual that you see in a report or on a dashboard and exporting either the summarized or the underlying data to Excel or CSV.